Hey guys, welcome back to part two of this. If you saw part one, I'm really glad you came back. I didn't actually know if anyone would. A couple of things before I get started here. I noticed I didn't really address this cover image too much before, but this is actually basically ripped off from the DC Comics encyclopedia that I owned when I was a kid. You can see like this was Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I just picked the characters the best reflected those when I was recreating this cover, this Alex Ross painting that I redid here. These aren't even like the three most prominent characters in my lineup. They're just in the front because they were the closest to those figures. I also noticed when I was trying to show off how thick it was, I showed the spine, but I should have showed this side to show how much. Some of these back here are just blank sleeves, but this is still quite a few characters to get through. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started looking back where we left off last time. Okay, so this character here, Deadman, I think was more of an aesthetic decision than anything else. Like, I think he was a victim of gang violence and then, like, came back to life, probably due to vibranium. I think the actual story, his origin story, was going to be fleshed out more. But basically, he was just kind of like this urban samurai guy. You see he's got this blindfold on, so I guess he was probably blind. I don't remember that specifically, but he's got these two katanas, and basically I like the image of this like badass in a trench coat with two katanas and a blindfold running around in like Chicago or someplace like that, fighting like urban crime. And that was basically the whole idea with him. Again, it was more of just like an aesthetic. I like the image more than having any real solid ideas about like his powers or anything, other than like I know Deadman. I know he did get murdered and come back. I know that was definitely part of his origin story, but I don't remember too much else beyond that. This here is Deadshot. Deadshot was a Canadian superhero. I wanted to try and have a few Canadian superheroes, like that weren't just like based on Canadian culture. It would just more like just the same as I would an American superhero, but they were from Canada, and this was one of them. Deadshot's superpower was basically the spirit gun from Yu Yu Hakusho. He could fire like this energy gun out of his finger, just pointing like a gun and shooting, and that was really it. I didn't have too many stories with him. I think he had a parallel character in here that was going to be tied to a lot of his stories, and I remember there being a character like that, and if I remember who that was when I get to it, maybe that'll jog some memories, but we'll see. Moving on, though. Diamagnetus. I can't even pronounce my own character's name here. Diamagnetus. I'm sure I, like, looked up some, probably some Latin and combined them. I think I remember this character being for a team. I had a team of superheroes I created very late in the game with this. Like, this was while I was in college, and I had this idea for a team of superheroes where the lineup would kind of change, and they would have these long-running storylines and team dynamics that would kind of evolve over the course of the story. And I had it all mapped out. This is one of the few things I actually kind of wrote down, some of the progression of their stories. But because it was so much later, I didn't do as much thinking on them because I kind of fell out of this shortly afterwards. So a lot of those characters I don't remember very well. It's very possible that the character Changeling that we looked at last time that I couldn't remember much about was part of that group. A couple of them I know, and I'll know them when I see them because they were going to be like important characters in it. But like, I can't even remember off the top of my head what the name of the team was. I just remember the basic dynamic that I was going for. That being said, I would only be guessing if I said what this guy's powers was. The fact that there's Magnetus in his name makes me think he probably had some kind of magnetic powers. Maybe like a heroic Magneto type figure, I don't know. Moving on, Diamond here. I think Diamond was part of a duo. I think he had a partner, like a tag team partner. And we'll see if I can remember who. Diamond's power was basically that he was hard as diamond. I had a number of characters that their only power was that they were basically indestructible. I can't remember if his was constant or if he had to like activate it. I don't think he had like a diamond form where he would like cover himself in diamond like Emma Frost or whatever. But that was definitely what his power was, and he's got this big diamond logo on his chest. You can probably see. But I don't remember too much about him as far as like personality or whatever. I mostly remember that I'm like 90% sure he was just like made to be like a partner to somebody else. And I don't remember who offhand. But it's another case where if I see the person and remember, oh yeah, this was Diamond's partner, then I'll say it when that happens. Because I've only flipped through this in recent years. I haven't gone through them as in depth as I am here in this video, so it's possible I'll remember, it's possible I won't, but we're moving on. Dr. Ray is actually, you may not recognize her, but she is this character here on the front that I said was Wonder Woman. And of those three that I showed, she's actually the one I was going to feature most prominently. Dr. Ray is one of my earliest characters. Not as early as Iceberg that I mentioned from last time, but basically, when I was a kid, I came into possession of a pack of trading cards that was DC superheroes, and this was long before I really read too many comics, and long before I had the my DC Universe Encyclopedia I was talking about. But it was just a bunch of trading cards. That was the first place where I ever saw like Starfire and Raven and some of the Teen Titans, because again, this was years before the cartoon show with those characters would exist. But I used to go and flip through the cards, and I was really into them, and there was one for the female Dr. Light that was introduced in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I just liked something about that character. I don't even know what it was, but just like an Asian woman with light-based powers, the white and black outfit. You can't tell here because everybody's in black and white, but her outfit was going to also be black and white. And this was basically just a rip-off of that Dr. Light. But I made her Dr. Ray. I don't know if you can tell on this video here, but it was originally R-A-Y. And then I erased it, and it was actually DR period R-A-Y, and then that was erased and Doctor was spelled out, and then I changed it to R-E-I because I was like, oh, when I saw Evangelion or learned about Evangelion, I was like, oh, there's a Japanese name that's the same name I was already using, so I'll just use that, and so that became her name. And it also obscured the light pun that was part of her name. But that's basically her gimmick. She was... I think she was originally just like a scientist who had an accident, and that's how she got her light powers. But I think I changed it later. When I get to Ultraman, I'll talk more about the discovery of Vibranium. But basically, Vibranium was discovered by a team of astronauts, and those were the first people to get superpowers in this universe. And I think I changed her origin later to be part of that team, if I recall correctly. She's one of the only ones that's like a pure good guy to come out of that. But yeah, so she, I think in her like reboot, I guess you would say rebooted origin or revised origin, she was an astronaut that helped discover the what gave everybody their powers. Moving on here to another early character, Doppelganger. Doppelganger started off as just a straight up rip-off of The Question from DC Comics. But he eventually kind of came into his own. His origin story is still pretty similar. Basically, he was a reporter, and his story takes place before the discovery of Vibranium that I mentioned with Dr. Ray. So his story takes place in a pre-superpower world. But he was a reporter, and he got too close to like a case, and then basically was like shot and left for dead. But he was found by somebody who's going to be like a supporting character who I don't think is in this, and kind of used the advantage. Like everyone thought he was dead. He was reported as being dead, and so he kind of used his newfound status as a dead person, as far as society was concerned, to kind of lose all identity. I think he even like got to the point of like burning off his fingerprints, a la like Fight Club. And his stories, he's wearing a mask here, that's why his face is so dark. He's got like a solid black mask over his head, and then just wears regular clothes besides that. But his gimmick was going to be that he was like a master of disguise, and kind of picked up that, and so he would assume these fake identities and infiltrate criminal organizations and things of that nature. And his stories would just be like a typical mystery story. He wouldn't even be in them until the very end, when it would be revealed that one of the characters that had been there the whole time was actually him in disguise, and then he would like catch the bad guy or stop the crime or whatever. And so like part of the fun of his stories was supposed to be guessing which character was actually him in disguise. And I'm not sure exactly how I would have framed that in the actual storytelling. It was just like a gimmick that I liked a lot. I had gotten the idea from the Black Orchid storylines, if any of you have read Black Orchid's comics, but that was Doppelganger. He was one of the characters I was most excited for, and because he was in the pre-superhero world where there weren't very many heroes, and those that were around didn't have superpowers, he would have gotten a better chance to shine there, I think. Although he probably would have carried over into after everybody got superpowers too, but he was never going to have actual powers. His disguises would be purely through his own like makeup and stuff like that. Drake here. So Drake's a teenage superhero, which you could probably tell by the fact that this is clearly like a Robin drawing that I recreated. I don't remember if he was somebody's sidekick. I think he was going to be, but I mostly made him because I wanted to have like a Teen Titans type group, like a group of teenage superheroes who worked together. And they weren't all going to be sidekicks, so it's possible he didn't have somebody he sidekicked for. He was just a member of this group. But I think he was, the more I think about it, the more I think he was just kind of Robin. Like, I don't think he had powers, he just relied on athleticism and skill. So, yeah, not a very original character here. Some of these weren't. I think this particular design of him was like the third or fourth, because I think he was closer to Robin when I first designed him, and then I tried to change him up, but he probably didn't change that much. I think he was probably, knowing me, he probably had like a bluish color scheme and like red hair, but that's about all I remember about him, is that he was for that group. If we see other members that I remember were in that group, I might mention it. I think Cybernetica might have been. I know Cybernetica, when we talked about her, I know she was in a group, but I can't remember details about it. I don't remember if it was the like larger European Union type group or if it was this teenage group. But now that I think about it, I think she was in this same group as Drake. That would even make sense, you know, have an African American cyborg, have a Robin. You know, I was just making the Teen Titans, I guess. I didn't even think about it that way. Speaking of ripoffs, though, again, this was clearly the Green Arrow originally, but this one was Eagle Eye. I just felt like I needed to have a bow and archer superhero in the vein of Green Arrow and Hawkeye from Marvel. I just felt like it was something I was supposed to have, so I made one. But that's really it. Like, that's his whole thing, is that he uses a bow and arrow to fight crime. Like, if I was to do this today, I would need a real good reason to keep this character around. And the only reason I can think of is that there's another character that you'll see later whose origin is tied to Eagle Eye, and I like that character a lot. This character really just existed for that character's origin. So, and we'll talk about her later. But for now, Eagle Eye was I just felt like I had to have a bow and arrow guy. El Diablo was a member of that teen group. I remember I don't think, if he had powers, it was like probably like a fire power. But his main thing was, I just wanted a superhero that like rode on a motorcycle. That's why he's got this is supposed to be a motorcycle helmet under his arm. I don't think I conveyed that well in this drawing. But he's, as you could tell by his name, he's Hispanic, Latino, and I wanted him to ride around on a motorcycle. He probably has some fire powers. He's probably just like a non-Skull Ghost Rider. But he was going to be part of that same teen group as Drake and Cybernetica. I'm pretty sure. And I'm also think this character, Empathy, was part of that. She wasn't going to be one of the main cast. So I feel like I had a story with her that was going to be kind of tragic. She's tied to a couple other characters. She has a sister and two brothers, and parents who are all superheroes that we'll get to. She's the first person from that family that we're getting to. Empathy, though, is an empath. She basically just like sense people's emotions or whatever, and so she came in handy more from as like a member of a team, because I don't think she did a lot of fighting herself, but she had a sister who we'll get to way later in this series, who was a villain, who also had kind of emotion-based powers, but were a little bit different, and she used them for evil. And I think empathy was mostly part of that group because as part of her sister's storyline, and I think she was mostly built around that storyline. So I don't think she was going to be part of the team for long. And unless I don't know, with these things, what I'm mostly planning in my head, it would have really depended on how things went when actually writing and what made sense to the writing portion. Faye. Faye was a member of that group I was talking about that I made really late when I was talking about him. I don't remember. I think she just had flight, I think was her only power. But she was a member of that group I was talking about that I made in college. I remember her outfit was pink and she had blonde hair, and like this armband was yellow, like gold. I remember these things looking at this design. I think she's got like a sash here that was also going to be yellow and tie into that. But yeah, she was just a member of that group. I think that group all had the same origin story, that they were all exposed to Iglanium at the same time. At least the original group, like I said, the lineup would have changed as it went on. But I don't remember the details about that origin story. I just remember that they were like a group of like 20-somethings who were all exposed at the same time. And she could fly. That was it. She had a dynamic in the group and would have played a role in the group's storylines and stuff. But without like having the rest of the group here like all lined up, I couldn't go through it too much. And like I said, I had a lot of plans and I wrote them all down, and maybe I'll find some way to share those if I can still find them. I may not even have them anymore. But yeah, that's her. Fire Breather. This is such an old drawing. I've had this one for a long time, and I've seen it a lot. I don't know if you can see all the erase marks around here. There was another drawing over here that I like erased and drew this over. Probably an earlier sketch for the character, but I don't remember anything about him. Like I was talking about how I didn't remember much about that team that Faye was in because it was so recent. In Fire Breather's case, he was just too old and not as beloved by me, so I didn't think about him often. Obviously he could breathe fire. I don't think he had a lot going on beyond that. I don't remember, I don't think he was part of a team. I can't remember his origin story or anything about his villains or anything. He was just a guy who breathed fire. So again, like I was talking about with Eagle Eye, if I was going to do something with these today, and I'm not planning to, but if I were to, Fire Breather would probably be dropped unless I could think of something better for him. Firestar. Wow, that's not a very original name. I think this character was more, just more of an aesthetic thing. I wanted to do Power Girl's cape, because Power Girl gets a lot of talk about her boob window, and this is not a boob window here. This isn't skin that you're seeing there, it's a color. But I liked Power Girl's cape that came over one shoulder and then went under her armpit. I just liked it, and I remember wanting to do a character with it. I think I had other ideas for this character, and I just attached the cape to it because I've been wanting to do it, but I remember that better than I remember the other things. So yeah, I don't remember too much. I think she might have been part of that European larger group. I can actually look here, see if she shows up. Nope, she's not on the list here, I don't see. So yeah, I don't remember anything more about it. I think she probably had, like, given her name and her logo here, I think she probably had some kind of energy bolt, Starfire type superpower. She might have just been a straight up ripoff of Starfire. I don't think she was a member of that Teen Titans ripoff group though. So for whatever that's worth. But yeah, that's Firestar. I wish I had more to say about her because I do like this drawing. Okay, Green Panther is an interesting story. So this will be the last one we talk about today. when I was a kid, I had an Iron Man, like, I think it was like Iron Man Jungle or something. They used to release a bunch of Iron Man variants that were all different colors and whatever, and the one I had was green and black, and I thought he looked really cool, and when I was a kid, I used to call him the Green Panther, and this was, like, early elementary school, like second or third grade. I would call him the Green Panther, because, I don't know, there's something about the facial mask design, which you can see here, that reminded me of a panther. I don't know why, it just did. And so that's what I called him. And then I dropped the character for a long time. And then when I was building that team in college that I was talking about that Faye was in, I wanted to bring him back as a member of that. And you can actually see originally in this drawing, I tried to give him just like a normal dude's face with a domino mask. And then I erased it and gave him the mask closer to the old action figure of Iron Man I had, because I just liked it and it felt right. He's got these shoulder pads that are very reminiscent of the White Ranger or the Green Ranger from Power Rangers. And he had an energy sword, which was the power I gave him. I don't remember what powers he had when I was a kid, if he had any. And this is basically just a callback to when I was very young, and the types of things I did with my superheroes back then. So this is another one that's like an early, like predating Dr. Ray, but a really early superhero. Maybe the earliest in this book, like as far as like the actual basic concept. Obviously he evolved a lot by the time he came here. But yeah, he was going to be a member of that group. And part of why I decided to use the Green Panther name here is because he was going to play a similar kind of role to the Green Ranger in the Power Rangers, and that he was going to come in at first as like an antagonist, but then kind of switch sides and join the team in like some kind of crucial moment, and kind of play a similar role to that. So he really was like a combination of that old character inspired by my action figure and the Green Ranger, just green. That was probably why I wanted to bring back that character in the first place. I was like, well, who would be a good Green Ranger character? Well, I've got this Green Panther. So, but yeah, that's where we'll stop here. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope I'm not boring you guys too much with these. I really like talking about this. This is a lot of fun for me looking back, and but I don't know if without the nostalgia filter that I have, I don't know how much interest this carries over. But if you're at all interested in these, come back, check back wherever you found this later. I'm sure the part 3 will be up soon. I don't know yet if this is going to be like a weekly thing or a daily thing or what. But I'm really happy to be able to share these, I guess. And so hopefully I'll see you guys then. Bye.